Executive investor, keynote speaker based in London after living in Dublin, Shanghai, Bali and Jakarta, venture builder and startup advisor, founder and CEO of Univesco, which is a global investment banking, asset management and advisory company dedicated to providing benefit to clients across all markets and regions. An outgoing, gregarious person who thrives in dynamic environments and maximizes social opportunities, has a keen knack for understanding his clients' needs and building rapport with them is one of his greatest strengths. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rishi Kant Harani.
Hello everybody, my name is Rishi Harani. I am a founder and CEO of Univesco Limited. I'm a global citizen, I like to call myself, in that where I work with people, help them to scale their business in different markets and different regions. And being living abroad for approximately 10 years of my life, for the last 10 years, I have learned one thing, that people are very nice, and you only develop as a person when you work with different people and you understand what people want, and that's how you grow a business. So in terms of not just focusing on the BSP of the business, but it's also working with people. So I'm going to be talking about scaling your startup overseas. I'll be sharing my experience as well, and if you have any questions, feel free to meet me afterwards. Thank you so much. So in terms of one way to increase your revenue growth is that you scale overseas. So I see some businesses here today and they're predominantly based here in the UK, but you can only become big as a company is when you expand. And one thing that many businesses don't do is they don't expand. They don't scale their business. And unfortunately or fortunately, the ecosystem of a startup nowadays, in the world that we live in a very highly competitive world, its lifespan of a startup is only 8 to 10 years. So if you don't exit your startup within the 8 to 10 year mark, either be it IPO or be acquired by another company, you lose out. The competition is so fierce and so stiff. So expanding is not just boosting your profits, but you're getting access to a different market. And as I say, like living abroad, working with different people and everything, when you work with different people, every market is different. So let's say the ecosystem of London is amazing, it's great, we live here in London, getting access to funding is amazing, everything is easy, straightforward. But when you go to Asia, for example, Chinese, they're a different ballgame altogether. If you go to India, we're talking on a different level altogether. So it's how you overcome those obstacles is what we're talking about. So you increase your revenue streams, as I mentioned. You get access to a new market. Inspiration to innovate. So I really like Danny's business today. I found her presentation to be very, very interesting. And she has come up with something that she's innovated an idea, I believe, where I remember when I was 18, 19 years old, going to a nightclub, I had to carry my driver's license. Now, I always carry my driver's license, but just the mere thought of losing your passport or a license, I don't want to go through that process of going to the passport office or police station first, lost a license, this and that. So inspiration to innovate. So when you scale overseas, you're dealing with different people, and when you're dealing with different people, you pick up from the information. One thing that I've learned and living abroad and working with different people is that you get so much energy of different people, and when not just energy, you learn from those people. My mother still gives out to me that I travel a lot and I spend a lot of money, like any other Indian mom does. But for me, coming here, talking to amazing people like yourselves, I believe that's an investment. So don't lose out in terms of, oh, I don't want to scale, I don't want to spend too much money, I don't want to do this and that. Be ready to fight. Technology. We live in such a very highly competitive world where technology plays a huge role in terms of how we scale our business. If you're not utilizing technology by working with good technology partners, it's very difficult to scale your business. So make sure that you're utilizing correct technology. Market knowledge. I mentioned here a couple of car brands, automotive brands, Ford, GM and Chrysler. They failed in Indonesia. Can anyone in this room tell me today why these amazing automotive brands failed in Indonesia when they're one of the most successful brands in the US?
Marketing.
Anybody?
Maybe marketing. The way
Okay.
that they market. So the way that they marketed it. I don't know.
Okay,
Promotion.
that's one. Anything else?
Pricing.
Yes, and there's one major
Culture conflict.
culture conflict. Localizing to the local market. Now, has anybody here been to Indonesia? Show of hands, has anybody been to Indonesia? Indonesia, after India, has probably one of the worst roads in the world. Now, India is developing its infrastructure for sure, of course, the Modi's government's doing quite a bit, but it has probably one of the worst roads, the now German autobahns. And Indonesia is pretty much similar. So these American cars, they're not fit for Indonesian roads. Indonesians prefer reliability that you get from Hondas, Toyotas, those kind of cars. Therefore, you have to localize. A lot of American businesses go in China. I lived in China for 4.5 years. The amount of startups, American startups I saw failing in China was ridiculous, probably one a week that I used to see. One of the major reasons was that they didn't localize to the local market. When you're dealing with the Chinese, you have to speak the language, you have to eat their food, you have to be with them, even if you don't like it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So that's why you have to localize. So market knowledge. So before you scale, before you enter any new market, make sure you understand that marketplace very well. One of the major reasons to expand, like why do you want to expand? That's the question that you should be asking yourself all the time. Premature startups, premature expansion is also a key to failure. 70% of startups fail because they expand prematurely. So make sure you're expanding at the correct timing. How do we define that correct timing? It depends on multiple factors. One of them is your revenue streams, but is your product fit for across the board? And you only get that by focusing on the culture, the market knowledge, so on and so forth. And resources. Make sure that you utilize the resources correctly. So employ the correct talent, work with people from those local markets, understand before you jump in. I can swim, but am I going to jump in that river now? Probably not. I don't want to ruin my suit. But the thing is, if I know how to do it, I would do it. If I was wearing shorts, I would have definitely jumped in. Right, 5 signs your business is ready to go on the international stage. You have outgrown your domestic market. So as I said, a lot of people are comfortable. I'm working with a client at the moment. I was talking to Sharjeel here just about half an hour ago, working with an Indonesian client, a chocolate manufacturer. They've outgrown their domestic market. They're selling very well in Indonesia, in Jakarta, in Bali, in Singapore, in Brunei, in Malaysia, and I've told them that now is the time to expand into Europe. Now, 2 of those founders, one of them is pretty much excited, make it happen, Rishi. The other one is like, not exactly sure, this and that. And I told him, straight on his face, if you don't expand in the next 6 months, your business is going to go out of business. And the reason being, it's a chocolate company. Anybody else comes up with a better product, this business goes out down the drain. Your sales are seasonal. Now, there are certain businesses in the world where your sales only happen during, let's say, the summer months, during the winter months. So, because of the beauty of the world that we live in, if it's summer here in the UK, it's winter in Australia. If it's summer in Australia, it's winter here in the UK. So we live in such a beautiful globalized world where if you want to expand your business, make sure in different markets at the different timings, so you're getting the revenue streams from all across the board, all across the year. You know there's an international market for your goods. Now, there are certain products, for example, the chocolate company I'm talking about, now that, there's a huge market for that here in Europe. UK is probably one of the highest chocolate consumption countries in the world. If that business were to go to India or Pakistan, where we eat mithai, that business is going to fail miserably, and especially the pricing that they're entering the market at, that business is going. So make sure you know your product very well before you jump into that country or that market. Competitive pricing. That's the trickier one. How do you know if your product is competitive? Can anybody tell me how would you know if your product is competitive and the pricing is competitive?
I could just say what I did, and I had a look at my competitors who would kind of be my competitors, or even having a look at the passport. How much does that cost to replace? How much does a driving license cost to replace? Then I looked at how much the cost of the card would be, and then and I worked it out. And so, the cards cost £20 each,
yeah.
which is and for our market as well. So for the customers. So we wanted to look at the best kind of price point for them as well. So that's what I did. So I would say that you look at many different areas. How much is the product going to cost you to make? How much will the customer buy from you? And the competitors. How much are they charging for a similar product?
So yeah, analyze your competitors' pricing strategy, but the biggest one is when you're entering a new market and analyzing your own price, make sure that it is meeting with the GDP of that particular country. So that chocolate manufacturer, the example I'm giving you, if that chocolate were to go to India, it'll be priced at 700 rupees, which is £7 roughly. Nobody in India is going to eat a chocolate bar for £7. But if that were to come to the UK, or in Switzerland, or in Belgium, there might be buyers for that because it's such a premium niche market. So make sure that you know your market very well before you jump in. Alternative payment solution. You can only become a successful business these days is if your business is accepting all forms of payments. My dad carries a lot of cash, so does my mom. I'm one of those mobile payments. China spoiled me, to be honest. 4 years in China, out of those 4 years, 3 of those 4 years, I never carried a wallet. Just my keys and my phone. As long as my phone had battery, I was able to order a taxi, I was able to pay for my coffee, my food, order food, whatever, just through my phone. So we're living in a developed, digitalized world where it's all mobile payments. So make sure that you're utilizing mobile payments in your business. And undercapitalization. Before you jump into any market, make sure you have enough funds. So just say, let's say if you have $1 million, your business is doing really, really good, making £1 million a year revenue here in the UK. Trust me, if you were to go to any new market, let's say China, you're going to fail miserably. That £1 million roughly translates to about 9.8 million RMBs, local currency. It's not enough. The competition is so fierce in terms of marketing, in terms of branding, you're going to burn so much cash. So make sure you know what you're doing before you jump in. Misjudging the markets, as I mentioned. What the Chinese like, maybe the Indians don't like. What the Indians like, maybe the British don't like. What the British like, the Americans definitely don't like. So make sure you know what you're doing before you jump in. Immigration. Sometimes we like to send our own talent. So let's say you've got a really good, amazing CEO of your company here in the UK and you want to send them to China, India, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, whatever. If that particular person has never left Earth, he's not a global citizen, he doesn't understand the different cultures, he's going to bring your business down with you. Trust me on that. A lot of Americans go to China and they are the key reasons why that business fails in China. Because they bring their American values with them. They think America is the greatest country in the world, but trust me, not everybody thinks like that. So therefore, make sure that when you're sending your talent, they're the correct people when you're sending them across. And banking, certain laws, AML regulation, KYC and everything, banking regulation, it takes roughly about, I'm using a lot of Chinese examples, but to share my own experience, roughly 4 hours to 5 hours to get a replacement debit card in person in China. Out of those 4 hours, 15 minutes just for the card, but 3 hours, 45 minutes for the paperwork. So if you lose your debit card in China, cancel your plans for morning and lunch. Because that's literally, so the banking environment in China is not as developed. In terms, they have all the fintech payment solutions, WeChat Pay, Alipay, so on and so forth, but the ecosystem is not there yet. So make sure that when you're going into a new market, you know what the environment is like in terms of doing your banking activities. Now, fintech banking solutions are kind of helping, but still that bridge is yet to be crossed. Steps for scaling internationally, just simple one. Choose your country, open a bank account in that country, incorporate your incorporate your company in that particular country, and then hire the correct people, work with those people, understand the market, do a lot of market research, then jump in. Yeah, next one. Right, thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer later. Thank you.
Thank you.